Have you ever been in a situation where everything feels like it's spiraling out of control? Maybe it was a stressful deadline at work, or an argument with someone you care about, or even a big decision that just felt like too much. You're overwhelmed. Everything around you is moving fast, and you feel like you're drowning in the chaos. I know exactly how that feels. It can feel like you're standing at the edge, just waiting to fall. But what if I told you there's a way to stay calm no matter how intense the pressure gets? What if, instead of being swept away by the storm, you could stand still in the middle of it, untouched, composed, and in control? That's what Stoicism is all about. It's an ancient philosophy that teaches us how to manage our emotions, stay grounded under pressure, and handle whatever life throws at us. And here's the best part. You don't have to be a philosopher to do it. Anyone can practice Stoicism, and it's more than just an idea. It's a mindset, a way of life, that can completely transform how you approach the challenges you face. We've all heard the saying, "Don't sweat the small stuff," right? But let's be honest, sometimes the small stuff feels really big. The pressure can build up so fast, and before you know it, you're in a full-blown panic. But Stoicism teaches us to take a step back, to breathe, to see things from a different perspective. Take Marcus Aurelius, for example. He was an emperor, leading a vast empire, dealing with wars, betrayal, and constant pressure. But despite all of this, he remained calm, composed, and focused on what he could control. And he wasn't born that way. He learned the art of keeping his mind clear, even in the face of overwhelming stress. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. That's great, but how does that help me? I'm not an emperor, and I don't have that kind of control. Well, here's the thing. You don't have to be an emperor to apply Stoic principles. Whether you're handling a tough day at work, dealing with personal challenges, or trying to stay cool in a stressful situation, Stoicism can give you the tools you need to manage your emotions and stay calm under pressure. In fact, today, I'm going to show you exactly how you can start using Stoic philosophy to become a master of your emotions, to stay calm no matter what life throws your way. Before we begin, I'd appreciate it if you liked the video, so you can help me keep spreading Stoic philosophy. If you haven't subscribed yet, I highly recommend you do so and activate the bell so you don't miss future Stoicism videos. Now let's get into the real Stoic secrets. Let's talk about something that might sound simple but can change everything when it comes to staying calm under pressure. The Stoic mindset. What does it mean to have a Stoic mindset? Well, it's all about understanding what you can control and, more importantly, what you can't. Think about it for a second. How often do you get stressed out over things that are completely beyond your control? You get stuck in traffic, someone says something rude to you, or things don't go the way you planned. The pressure starts building, and before you know it, you're caught in a cycle of frustration. Here's the Stoic secret. You can't control the traffic, other people's behavior, or how the world spins. What you can control is how you respond to it. I know it sounds simple, but trust me, this is a game changer. Instead of letting external circumstances dictate your mood and behavior, you start shifting your focus inward. The Stoics call this the dichotomy of control. It's a powerful tool, and once you really understand it, you'll find that most of what stresses you out is out of your hands anyway. Take the example of Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers. Epictetus was born a slave. Can you imagine that? A life full of restrictions, pain, and lack of freedom. But despite all of that, he maintained one thing: control over his mind. He couldn't control what happened to him, but he could control how he reacted to it. Think about a stressful situation in your own life. Maybe it's a tough conversation, a looming deadline, or a situation where you feel helpless. In those moments, you have a choice. You can either get swept up in panic and frustration, or you can pause, take a deep breath, and remind yourself that while you can't control everything, your response is fully in your hands. And that's the power of Stoicism. It's not about pretending that bad things don't happen or that pressure doesn't exist. It's about understanding that you're not helpless in the face of it. You don't have to let every little thing drag you into emotional chaos. Now, I know it's not always easy to practice this. In fact, it can be really hard sometimes. But here's the good news. The more you train your mind, the easier it gets. The Stoics didn't become wise overnight. They worked at it every day. And you can too. So the next time you find yourself in a stressful situation, try this. Pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what can I control right now? Focus on that, and let everything else slide off you. It's a small shift, but it makes a huge difference. Let me know in the comments, when was the last time you caught yourself reacting emotionally to something out of your control? How did you handle it? Now, let's move on to the next Stoics idea that really helps us stay calm. Now let's talk about something that might surprise you. Pressure is actually a privilege. I know it doesn't always feel like it, right? When you're in the middle of a tough situation, the last thing you probably think is, hey, this is a great opportunity for growth. But that's exactly how Stoics view pressure. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Roman emperors, had to deal with wars, betrayals, and personal loss while leading an empire. Yet he didn't view those struggles as burdens. He saw them as chances to improve, to test his resilience. And that mindset made him one of the most respected rulers in history. Think about it like this. When life pressures you, it's like a weight being placed on a piece of metal. The metal can either bend or it can become stronger. It's the same with us. When we face challenges, we have a choice. We can either crumble under the weight or we can let it refine us. This idea is called amor fati. It's a Stoic concept that means love of fate. It's about accepting whatever happens, not with bitterness or resentment, but with gratitude and understanding that this is all part of the journey. Instead of wishing things were different, you embrace them, you learn from them, and you grow. Now, this doesn't mean we have to love every difficult situation that comes our way. Of course not. But the Stoics remind us that we don't have to let those tough situations define us or break us. Pressure doesn't need to crush you, it can help you rise. Think about times in your own life when you were under pressure. Maybe it was a job interview, a difficult conversation, or a moment when everything just seemed to be going wrong. In those moments, it's easy to think, this is the worst thing ever, right? But Stoicism teaches us to reframe those moments. Instead of thinking, why is this happening to me? Try asking, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? And here's where the Stoics really stand out. They don't just teach us to deal with pressure, they teach us to love it. Because pressure, difficulty, and challenges are the things that make us stronger. Every difficult moment is an opportunity for you to become a better version of yourself. So next time you feel the pressure building, instead of resisting it, try to embrace it. Remind yourself that this is your moment to grow, to test your limits. That's where true strength comes from. And hey, I know it's not always easy to reframe those moments, especially when everything feels like it's falling apart. But trust me, the more you practice it, the easier it gets. It's a mindset shift, and once you get it, nothing can really rattle you. So when was the last time life put pressure on you? How did you react? Share it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your story. Now, let's move on to how we can actually build the kind of mental strength that the Stoics practiced every day. Let's talk about building mental strength, something that's key to staying calm when life throws its worst at you. The Stoics call this building your inner citadel. It's about creating an unshakable fortress of calm within yourself. So no matter what's happening around you, you stay centered. Imagine for a second that your mind is like a city that's constantly under attack, people shouting at you, stress piling up, life throwing curveballs. What happens when you let that stress in? The city falls apart. But what if instead you built walls of calm around your mind? What if, no matter how loud the noise outside got, you stayed firm and strong on the inside? That's your inner citadel. Marcus Aurelius, as an emperor, had to practice this every day. His life was filled with war, political scheming, and public pressures that would break most people. But he focused on controlling his inner world, making sure that no matter how chaotic the outside world became, he remained calm, rational, and focused. That's the kind of mental strength we're talking about. Now, how do you start building this citadel within yourself? Well, it starts with daily practice. Just like you'd go to the gym to build physical strength, you've got to work out your mind. And the best way to do that is through reflection. The Stoics practiced premeditatio malorum, a fancy way of saying premeditation of evils. It sounds intense, but all it means is preparing your mind for challenges before they happen. You're basically setting yourself up for success by anticipating difficulties, so when they arise, you're ready. Here's a simple way you can practice it. Every morning, take a few minutes to reflect on your day ahead. Think about the potential challenges you might face. Maybe it's a difficult conversation, a stressful project at work, or just the usual daily pressures. Think about how you want to respond. Imagine yourself staying calm, staying rational, handling the pressure with a clear mind. That's your daily mental workout. Another way to build mental fortitude is by embracing discomfort. Now, I'm not saying you need to run a marathon tomorrow or do something extreme, but Stoicism teaches us to voluntarily put ourselves in situations that are a little uncomfortable. It could be taking a cold shower, fasting for a day, or even dealing with something that makes you anxious, but doing it anyway. These small challenges build your mental resilience. The more you practice discomfort, the better you'll be at handling bigger stresses when they come. It's not about avoiding stress or hardship. It's about strengthening your response to it. Just like lifting weights makes you stronger, these daily challenges make you mentally tougher. So, start small. Maybe try taking a cold shower tomorrow, or spend a few minutes reflecting on your day before it begins. The more you practice, the more you'll notice a shift in how you handle stress. You'll build that inner citadel, brick by brick. And over time, no matter what comes your way, you'll stay calm, grounded, and unshakable. Have you ever practiced something like this before? Maybe tried embracing discomfort? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear how you've built your own mental strength. Now, let's take a deeper dive into emotional mastery, because let's face it, our emotions can really throw us off when we're under pressure. But with a little Stoic wisdom, you can learn to control them instead of letting them control you. So, let's talk about something that really trips us up when we're under pressure. Emotions. It's easy to get overwhelmed by them. Maybe you've had one of those moments where everything is moving so fast. You get frustrated, angry, or even anxious. Then you react. You might say something you regret or make decisions you later wish you could take back. Sound familiar? But here's the Stoic approach. Instead of being controlled by emotions, you learn to control your response to them. It sounds simple, but trust me, it's powerful. Stoicism isn't about suppressing your emotions or pretending they don't exist. It's about observing them, understanding them, and not letting them take over your actions. Emotions are a part of being human. We all feel them, whether it's anger, anxiety, jealousy, or frustration. But Stoicism teaches us that while we can't always control how we feel, we can control how we respond. That's the key to emotional mastery. Imagine this. You're in a situation where someone says something that hits a nerve. Maybe it's a colleague who criticizes your work, or a family member who says something hurtful. You feel that initial wave of anger, frustration, or even embarrassment. Now here's where you get to choose. Instead of reacting right away, take a pause. Just for a moment, breathe in, breathe out, and then ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Is it really the situation that's making you upset? Or is it something deeper, maybe a fear or insecurity that's being triggered? By taking that pause, you're separating your reaction from the emotion. It's not easy, especially when emotions are running high, but it's a game changer. It's the difference between being a slave to your feelings or being in control of them. That's the essence of Stoic emotional mastery. The Stoics practice this kind of emotional detachment every day. Seneca, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, often wrote about how we should view emotions as passing waves, temporary and not worth getting lost in. He said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." In other words, we tend to magnify our emotions in our minds, making them seem bigger than they really are. When you realize that your emotions are just temporary and not a reflection of your true self, it becomes easier to step back and avoid reacting impulsively. Now, don't get me wrong. This isn't about ignoring your emotions or pretending they don't matter. It's about being aware of them and not letting them drive your behavior. Stoicism teaches us to observe emotions like clouds passing through the sky. They're there, but they don't define us. Here's a simple way to practice emotional detachment. Next time you feel overwhelmed by emotion, whether it's anger, frustration, or anxiety, try this. First, pause. Don't act immediately. Take a deep breath, and then reflect on what you're really feeling. Ask yourself, what is at the core of this emotion? Is it fear? Is it hurt? Is it something else? Once you identify what's driving your feelings, you can begin to respond in a more rational way. For example, imagine you're having a stressful conversation with a colleague or loved one. Instead of getting defensive or lashing out, you could use the pause to take a breath and then choose to respond calmly. You might say something like, "I hear what you're saying, and I understand your point, but I need to think about it before I respond." This simple act of pausing allows you to regain control and make a thoughtful response rather than reacting out of anger or frustration. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. It's like building muscle at the gym. At first it's tough. You might slip up and react emotionally, but over time, as you consistently pause and reflect before responding, you'll find it becomes second nature. You'll stop getting swept up in your emotions, and instead, you'll learn to navigate tough situations with calm and clarity. So think about the next time you feel yourself getting caught up in your emotions. Instead of reacting immediately, pause, breathe, observe, and choose your response. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Have you ever tried this kind of emotional detachment before? How did it work for you? Let me know in the comments below. Now, let's move forward to another powerful Stoic principle that will help you stay calm under pressure. And that's how to approach challenges with clarity and purpose. Now let's talk about something that might be a bit surprising. Silence as strength. You might be thinking, what does silence have to do with staying calm under pressure? Well, let me tell you, the Stoics knew exactly what they were doing when they practiced silence. In today's world, everyone seems to have something to say all the time. Social media is filled with endless opinions. People are always talking, and we're constantly being bombarded with noise. But here's the thing, silence isn't weakness. It's one of the most powerful tools you can use when you're under pressure. Think about it. In the heat of a stressful situation, whether it's an argument, a high-stakes meeting, or a disagreement with a friend, it's so easy to immediately respond. You're emotional. You want to get your point across, and maybe even win the argument. But here's where silence can make all the difference. When you choose to remain silent, instead of reacting right away, you give yourself space to think. You avoid saying something you might regret, or escalating the situation. This is exactly what the Stoics practiced. They didn't react impulsively. They stayed calm, and they listened. In fact, they believed that silence was a sign of true strength. Seneca once said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." What he meant by that is we often make things worse by reacting too quickly. The moment you open your mouth, your words are out there, and sometimes they can't be taken back. Think about a time when you've been in an argument or a tense conversation. How often did you say something in the heat of the moment only to wish you hadn't said it later on? I know I've been there, but when you choose silence, you give yourself time to calm down, to think clearly, and to choose your response wisely. This doesn't mean you should never speak up or avoid addressing important issues, not at all. But it means you shouldn't feel pressured to respond immediately, especially when emotions are running high. The Stoics understood this, and they practiced what's called delayed response. It's about having the discipline to hold your words until you've calmed down and can respond thoughtfully. A great example of this is in Marcus Aurelius's writings. As a ruler, he faced constant pressure from enemies, betrayal from people close to him, and endless challenges. But he didn't lash out or get caught up in the drama. He took a moment to reflect before he acted. He knew that silence could give him the clarity he needed to make better decisions. Next time you're in a stressful situation, try this. Take a deep breath and don't immediately respond. Take a few moments to collect your thoughts. Even if you feel that urge to react, give yourself that little pause and see what happens. More often than not, you'll find that the situation doesn't need an immediate response. Silence can actually give you more power than reacting in the moment. Now, I know this isn't always easy. It's tempting to speak up, to defend yourself, or to get your point across. But by practicing silence, you build emotional control. You create space for wisdom, for thoughtful reflection, and for a response that reflects your true values. The next time you feel the pressure building, try embracing silence. It's not about saying nothing. It's about choosing your words carefully and giving yourself the time to respond in the most powerful way. Let me know in the comments if you've ever practiced this kind of silence. How did it help you in a tense situation? Did it make a difference in how you handled the pressure? Now, let's move on to the next Stoic principle that will help you maintain calm in even the most intense moments. How to stay grounded in the face of real-life pressure. Now let's take a step into real-life situations, the kind of pressure that tests us, the moments that really show whether or not we can stay calm. Because, let's face it, life doesn't come with a script. You can't always prepare for what's coming, but what you can do is train yourself to respond in the right way. That's what the Stoics were all about, finding clarity and calm, no matter what life threw their way. Think about this. You're in a meeting at work and your boss calls you out in front of everyone for a mistake you made. The room goes silent, all eyes are on you, and suddenly your heart starts pounding. Your face feels hot. You want to respond, maybe defend yourself or explain why it happened. It's an uncomfortable situation and everything inside you is screaming to say something. But here's where Stoic practice can help. Epictetus, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, believed that we can't control what others do, but we can control how we respond. So in that moment, instead of reacting emotionally or getting defensive, you pause, you take a deep breath, and you remember, what can I control? Not the situation, but my response. You acknowledge the mistake, calmly and without defensiveness, and offer a solution. You don't let the pressure overwhelm you. You remain composed. This doesn't mean you're perfect or that things won't ever make you feel uncomfortable, but it does mean that you're in control of how you deal with it. You've trained your mind to stay grounded, even when things feel like they're spiraling out of control. Let me give you another example. Imagine you're going through a tough breakup. Emotions are all over the place. Pain, anger, confusion. You might want to lash out or text that person, say things you don't mean, or try to explain yourself. But here's where the Stoic mindset comes in. Instead of acting on impulse, you take a step back. You let yourself feel the emotions, but you don't let them control you. You choose to focus on what you can control, your healing, your growth, and your next steps forward. The Stoics weren't about ignoring emotions. They were about mastering them. And this isn't just about big life events. Even the small things, those everyday pressures, can be opportunities to practice Stoic calm. Maybe it's a stressful commute, a phone call that catches you off guard, or a sudden change of plans. Life is full of little moments that can trigger stress. But if you practice Stoic principles, you'll find that you can navigate those moments with greater ease. The more you train your mind, the better you'll get at handling whatever comes your way. Think about how much power you'll have in your life if you start applying these principles in small, everyday situations. Instead of reacting to stress or pressure with frustration or panic, you'll start to stay calm, make thoughtful decisions, and keep moving forward with clarity. It's not about avoiding pressure or challenges. It's about learning to use them as tools for growth. I want to hear from you now. Think about a time in your life when you faced a stressful situation. Maybe it was a difficult conversation, a challenging decision, or a moment of public pressure. How did you handle it? What did you learn from it? Share your story in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you've practiced Stoic calm in your life. Now let's move on to something that's going to help you even more when it comes to staying calm under pressure. How to build that unshakable confidence that the Stoics were famous for. The kind of confidence that lets you handle anything life throws at you. Here's the truth. Calmness isn't soft, it's power, and it's the mark of a strong man. Now let's get into something a little deeper, and something a lot of people don't talk about enough. Calmness as a form of power, not just emotional control, but actual silent strength. The kind of strength that high-status men, respected leaders, and grounded individuals carry with them everywhere they go. It's interesting. In today's world, we often associate power with volume. The louder someone is, the more attention they demand, the more dominant they seem, right? But real power, the kind that Stoicism teaches, it's quiet. It doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to prove anything. It just is. Think about the strongest men you've known in your life, not just physically, but mentally. The ones who stay calm when everyone else is losing it. The ones who don't flinch under pressure, who don't explode in anger when things don't go their way. They just keep showing up with clarity and quiet focus. That's Stoic masculinity. Marcus Aurelius ruled over the Roman Empire during some of its darkest hours. He didn't lead through fear or chaos. He led through discipline, stillness, and a deep understanding of himself. And even though he had more power than almost anyone alive at the time, he didn't brag about it. He didn't use it recklessly. He carried it with humility. That's something we can learn from today. Real strength isn't about domination. It's about restraint, the ability to stay calm when others are panicking, to remain clear-headed when emotions are flaring up. That's a trait people respect. Whether you're in the workplace, your relationship, or leading others, it's the calm voice in the room that everyone listens to. And here's something a lot of people miss. Emotional self-control doesn't just make you look strong, it makes you feel strong. When you're not constantly reacting, when you're not triggered by every little thing, you start to carry yourself differently. You walk with more confidence. You speak more clearly. You think more logically. That's what builds real status. Not the flash, not the noise, but the control. This is the kind of calmness that commands attention without demanding it. People notice it. They feel it. And deep down, they trust it. That's what makes it so powerful. It's not about trying to impress others. It's about mastering yourself. The Stoics believed that the man who controls himself controls the world around him. And I know it's not always easy, especially in a world that pushes us to react fast, speak fast, and keep up with everything. But that's exactly why Stoic calmness stands out. Because it's rare, it's different, and it's magnetic. If you've ever been in a tense room where someone remained perfectly calm, while everyone else was stressed or arguing, you know exactly what I mean. That kind of presence. It doesn't come from faking it. It comes from real inner strength. It comes from knowing yourself, managing your emotions, and refusing to be pulled in by drama, ego, or chaos. So if you're trying to become a man others respect, a leader people look up to, or even just someone who feels more in control of his life, start by mastering your calm. Because calmness under pressure, that's the real flex. That's status, that's power, and it's something you can build every single day. Let me know, have you ever met someone who carried that quiet strength? Maybe it was a mentor, a friend, or someone you've worked with. What did you learn from them? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to know what calmness looks like to you. All right, now let's get into something even more practical. How to start training that kind of strength today. We're going to look at what Stoics actually did on a daily basis to stay sharp and unshakable, so you can start applying it in your own life right now. How to practice calm in the 21st century. Let's bring this into your day-to-day life. Here's how to actually practice calm. All right, we've talked a lot about how the Stoics stayed calm under pressure, but now it's time to bring it home. Let's talk about how you can practice this mindset starting today, because Stoicism isn't just something to think about. It's something to live. Now, I know life today is different from ancient Rome. We're not emperors, we're not walking around in togas, and most of us aren't writing deep thoughts on scrolls by candlelight. But pressure, distractions, emotional triggers? Yeah, we've got plenty of those. That's why these principles are more useful now than ever. So let's start with something simple. Your morning, when you wake up, before you reach for your phone, before your mind starts racing, just sit for a moment. Breathe. Let the noise stay quiet. Then ask yourself one question: what might go wrong today, and how do I want to respond to it? This is what the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, imagining the obstacles ahead of time. Not to be negative, but to be prepared. You're mentally rehearsing the challenges you might face: traffic, rude people, a tough conversation, and deciding now how you'll handle them. Calmly, thoughtfully, with control. That's how you train your mind before the chaos hits. Another powerful habit: journaling. You don't have to be a writer or philosopher for this. Just grab a notebook and write a few lines each morning or evening. You might write, "What did I handle well today?" Or, "Where did I let my emotions take over?" This isn't about being perfect, it's about being aware. And once you start noticing your patterns, you'll start changing them. You can also build calm through something most people avoid: discomfort. The Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort, not to be dramatic, but to train their minds. Marcus Aurelius slept on hard ground sometimes. Seneca fasted. Epictetus, who lived as a slave, reminded himself that nothing external could truly harm him. You don't have to go that far, but small practices work. Take a cold shower. Skip your favorite snack for a day. Sit in silence for 10 minutes without distractions. These tiny acts remind your brain, "I can handle this." And when life throws something real at you, you're already trained for it. Now, if you really want to put Stoicism to work, try this: a 7-day Stoic calm challenge. Here's how it could look. Day 1. Practice silence. Just once today, when someone says something that pushes your buttons, don't respond right away. Just breathe. Day 2. Write down 3 things that stressed you out and how you responded. Could you have handled it better? Day 3. Face one small discomfort. Maybe take a cold shower or skip coffee. Day 4. Journal what went wrong and what you learned from it. Day 5. Go through your day expecting things to go off track, and when they do, stay calm. Day 6. Let go of one thing you can't control. Day 7. Reflect on the week. Ask yourself, did I feel calmer, stronger, more grounded? I guarantee even after 1 week, you'll start to feel a shift. And remember, you're not doing this to impress anyone. You're doing it because peace of mind is a kind of power, the kind that shows up in your body language, your voice, your presence. The world might not slow down for you, but your mind can. So tomorrow morning, start with 1 minute. Just 1 minute of silence. Breathing and preparing yourself. Think, what do I want to be in control of today? And let that thought guide you. I'm curious, what's one small habit you already use to stay calm? Or if you're just starting out, which of these Stoic practices are you going to try first? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear how you're building your own calm. Now let's bring it all together. In this last part, we're going to wrap up everything we've talked about and leave you with a final reminder of what it truly means to stay calm under pressure. And finally, a reminder of what it really means to be calm when life throws the storm. All right, let's bring everything we've talked about to a close. If you've made it this far, you already understand something most people never will. Calmness isn't weakness, it's strength. And not the loud, flashy kind. I'm talking about the quiet, steady kind of strength that gets you through the hardest moments in life without losing yourself. When everything around you is spinning out of control, when people panic, emotions rise, and pressure is at its peak, most will crumble, but you've got a choice. You can train yourself to stand still, to hold your ground, and to think clearly when everyone else loses their head. That's what Stoicism is really about. It's not about being cold or distant or pretending you don't feel anything. It's about feeling everything, but not being owned by it. It's about facing the world with a steady hand, a clear mind, and a strong heart. You've learned how to separate what you can control from what you can't, how to build your inner citadel, how to master your emotions and respond with calm instead of chaos. You've seen how silence can be a weapon, how pressure can become training, and how calmness becomes a symbol of true masculinity and inner strength. You don't need perfect conditions to be calm. You just need practice. You just need the decision every day to pause, breathe, and act from wisdom instead of impulse. And look, life will test you, that's a guarantee, but each test is a chance to show yourself who you really are. Not the version of you that panics or spirals, but the version that keeps his cool, sees the bigger picture, and chooses calm every single time. So here's what I want you to reflect on. When was the last time life tested you under pressure? Did you stay calm, or did the moment take over? I'd love to hear your story. Drop it in the comments. Seriously, share it. These conversations matter, and if this message resonated with you, even just one part of it, consider subscribing. I've got more Stoic wisdom coming your way, and I'd love for you to be part of this journey, because the truth is, the man who stands calm in the storm, he doesn't just survive, he leads, he earns trust, he commands respect, and most of all, he lives with peace. Thanks for being here. Keep showing up, keep growing, and remember, calm is your power.